Today, Donald Trump is in Washington, D.C., the city named for the first president of the United States. This is Washington. This is the city that has risen up. These monuments of remembrance. All of that is the backdrop today when the fascist Donald Trump returns to Washington, D.C. to be surrounded by an epic sycophancy. When he is there, the bootlickers will surround him in ecstasy. They will praise and worship him like Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is the MAGA party, the extremist party. It is filled with accused criminals, corrupt individuals, weirdos of a profound dimension. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz and Lauren Boebert and the whole gang. This is Trump's fascist movement, backed by violent thugs. And they are there for an organizational meeting. And the purpose of that meeting is power, political power. It is June the 13th, 2024, one day away from Flag Day. What is it that the American flag stands for? What does it mean to you? It certainly means something to the Alitos, Martha Ann and her husband, who desecrate it and choose to fly a flag that has been co-opted, tragically, as a symbol of political extremism, as opposed to revolutionary defiance in favor of liberty. Liberty is on the ballot this November. 145 days from now, the American people will vote America or Trump. This is the warning. Donald Trump is a fascist who does not believe in elections, restraints on his power, or the morality of dissent in a democratic society. President Franklin Roosevelt once told Treasury Secretary Robert Morgenthau that if he died in his sleep, he wanted his friend to tell the whole world that he thought Charles Lindbergh was a Nazi. Lindbergh was certainly a sympathizer. The America First movement was a veritable fifth column of fascist menace, and American Nazis were packing Madison Square Garden in 1938. After Pearl Harbor, the movement faded and was discredited, but its remnant always remained, like an ember under the ash, hot, burning, ready to light. Fascism has risen in America again. It is on the ballot, and it must be better understood. We must call it by its name. Donald Trump stands now for an un-American and evil proposition, and it is this. He is the state, and the state is him. He is the truth, and the truth is him. It is the most corrupt form of government in human history, and it is the deadliest. Donald Trump is the leader of an American fascist movement that has laid out a specific authoritarian playbook that will assert absolute power and the right to control what it pleases and take what it wants. The evidence of this is everywhere. The Proud Boys, the seditious, dangerous street thugs, Trump's militia are recruiting and growing. Do you remember what Donald Trump said at the debate?
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by.
Do you remember the Proud Boy violence of January 6th? The right-wing propagandists are calling for political opponents to be locked up. Leading candidates to be Trump's vice president all must pledge to act exactly opposite Mike Pence at the moment of truth. The threats are growing louder now and sharper. Donald Trump is a fascist. That's what makes him a bad American. And it's what makes his political movement un-American. I don't say it lightly. He is what he is because he has told us what he is with his own words and deeds and actions and threats 1,000 times. President Biden must look him in the eye and say it directly. President Biden must stand tall for the United States of America. If you like this message, hit the like button. Today, Donald Trump is in Washington, D.C., the city named for the first president of the United States. The center of the federal Capitol is dominated by the tall subject of the skyline, the monument made for the man who walked away from power. Not far from it is Capitol Hill, the House chambers and the chambers of the United States Senate, and the great dome that Abraham Lincoln insisted be built during the height of Civil War. These structures, the Washington Monument, and the White House, the home of presidents since John Adams, These marble buildings were constructed by the hands of slaves in the beginning, but in time, an American president walked through the front doors of the White House as the head of state, as commander-in-chief, because of the work of other founding fathers who were memorialized on the mall. Men like Martin Luther King, who told the country that it was time to embrace its promise, to do what it said it believed with the words it had put on paper. This is Washington. This is the city that has risen up. These monuments of remembrance that stretch back from that house all the way back to the Capitol, where there is General Grant, the 18th president of the United States, connected all together. The story of America laid out from the African American History Museum to the Holocaust Memorial to the Aviation Museum that highlights the story of adventure that plays out in the 20th century, to the buildings that house our eternal documents, the ones that talk about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, the ones that talk about in order to form a more perfect union. All of that is the backdrop today when the fascist Donald Trump returns to Washington, D.C. to be surrounded by an epic sycophancy. When he is there, the bootlickers will surround him in ecstasy. They will praise and worship him like Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is the MAGA party, the extremist party. It is filled with accused criminals, corrupt individuals, weirdos of a profound dimension. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz and Lauren Boebert and the whole gang. This is Trump's fascist movement, backed by violent thugs. And they are there for an organizational meeting. And the purpose of that meeting is power, political power. No matter what the American people decide, they have all said Trump cannot lose because losing is evidence of a rigged election. There are no more fair elections in America, you see, because elections require good faith, and fascists strangle good faith in democracy, and the good faith is gone now. And so there is one party, such as it is, and it is an organized conspiracy to take political power away from the people and into the hands of Trump and his cronies. We must say no to this. Before there can be reform and renewal in America, before the next generation can take the reins and make it better, the American people must come together in disagreement behind the only man on the ballot who can stop this plague, this menace, this resurgent fascism. And that man is the President of the United States, Joe Biden. Perfection is not on the ballot. Joe Biden, in a sense, is not on the ballot. What is on the ballot is MAGA. This is a question that is now at hand. It has been 9 years in the making, and we must make a choice. And that choice is America or MAGA, America or Trump. It's as simple as that. The future, tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day. Offer a chance over the next 145 days to stop this cold and forever. But after that, if it takes power, there will be a crisis in this country of enormous magnitude because our rights that we take for granted will be endangered overnight by a man who will do everything he can to become a tyrant, to make you fear him, to control what can be said about him. It's a frightening proposition. It should be taken seriously. This is the warning. 145 days to go. I'm Steve Schmidt. This is the warning, and I invite you to subscribe on our Substack, on our YouTube channel. Follow us. Welcome to the community.